Once again of the game between USC and Notre Dame, but we want to bring you an update on this very important news happening in South Florida.
Leanne Morejon is out there among the growing crowd in Little Havana to give us a sense now of the commemoration out there, and it really is a celebration, Leanne.
That is the word, Lori and Calvin, unbridled joy. Just behind us, there was a salsa party that broke out. Someone brought a portable speaker, and you better believe it, people were having a good time. Actually listening to one of Willie Chirino's songs, he famously sang, Ya viene llegando, the day is coming, singing about his experiences as a Cuban exile. And just to give you a slice of life here, what's been going on, a day of celebrations here in Little Havana. This may be called Little Havana, but you won't find anyone mourning as you might in Cuba's capital. Southwest 8th Street, better known as Calle Ocho, became the setting for a block party late last night after word that Cuban dictator Fidel Castro was no more.
I called my mom and I said, listen, mommy, Fidel is dead.
He got in the car and drove down.
They're $5.
Since then, the colors of Cuban flags were seen everywhere in front of Versailles' Cuban Cafe and readily for sale.
$5 each.
Versailles is the de facto headquarters for the Cuban exile community. The sounds of salsa music and songs by famous Cuban artists filling the air, like Ernesto Lecuona's Siboney.
It's a very nationalistic Spanish song.
And the familiar clang of pots and pans, a sometimes peculiar sight for outsiders. Around these parts, a rallying cry.
It's a non-violent way for us to protest exactly what's been happening in the island for so many years and what is hopefully a great shift that is coming.
The death of Fidel Castro is long awaited for so many, like artist Felix Gonzalez Sanchez, who made this bust back in the 90s, just for this day.
Yo estaba esperando para este día.
For the people here, Castro's death brings a sort of sweet release and hope that a Cuba Libre is not too far away.
My parents were born there, and unfortunately they passed through a very hard time in Cuba, and now we're celebrating.
And back out live to aerials from Sky 10 high above Versailles' Cuban Cafe. Willie Chirino, famous Cuban-American salsa singer, right there by that cafecito window, the location where so much political discourse takes place, along with, of course, some cafecito drinking, some croqueta eating. Definitely the hub of sorts for so many in this community with ties to the island. A source of hope today is for so many, and there are so many here. Everyone has a story. Everyone has some poignant piece of history that sort of explains how they got here, why they feel the way we do. My colleague Amy Viteri spoke with some of the people in the crowd. This is just a slice, a small sample of some of the stories in this crowd today.
He hurt a lot of people, he killed a lot of people, and as you can see, there's so many Cubans here, and I feel it for them because it's a lot. It's not a loss, it's something that he really hurt a lot of people.
Including your family?
Yes, like we came here to have a better life, and my parents left everything behind.
My parents are 82 and 84. We came in 1967 with 5 kids. My parents came to New York City, and this is for them, and they're alive, and I can't wait to get there and have a cafecito this morning with them.
And that's the sentiment shared by so many here. A lot of people, some of the younger folks here, they have family members, grandparents, aunts and uncles, you name it, who didn't live to see this day, a day that meant so much for them. Even though they know that change isn't imminent, it may not come right away. And right above me, if you can hear behind me, people are singing that song I told you about by Willie Chirino that says, our day will come, ya viene llegando. And you can hear it in the air right now. Music, joy, that's what's happening here. Any morning, you won't find that here in the streets of Little Havana along Calle Ocho. I'm Leanne Morejon, live for you. Lori, Calvin, I send it back to you.
And Leanne, before you go, we don't normally ask this a lot of our reporters. We want you to personalize this moment, if you will. As a Cuban American, your family, when they heard the news of the death of Fidel Castro, their reaction and your reaction.
Well, I found out this morning. You know, as a news person, you'd think I'd find out right away, maybe late last night, but I got an early night's sleep last night, and when I woke up around 6:30 this morning, I was completely shocked. I made sure I called my mom and called my grandmother to make sure they were aware, and they were right ahead of the ball than I was. But for the granddaughter of someone who was a political prisoner, my grandfather was arrested and jailed briefly for 2 months for refusing to follow orders given down by the Castro regime. They wanted him to carry rifles and cut sugar cane, and he didn't want to do it. And that's something that, you know, if you refuse to do something here in this country, well, you're okay to do so. You have the freedom to do so. But for him, that was not the case. He was jailed for being a counter-revolutionary, as you would call it. So for him and for so many others who are like me, and there are plenty, I definitely feel like I'm among family here, among people who have a common experience. And so it's a joyous atmosphere, because I think, like many have said, it sort of singles what could be the beginning of the end, since Fidel is the one who sort of started it all, and now to see him gone away is symbolic at the very least, and at most a sign of what's to come in the bigger sense, as far as the revolution that he brought along. For those who don't agree with it, who would rather have never seen it come to pass, it's definitely a strong symbol.
And your story is similar to so many across South Florida, Leanne. Thank you for sharing that, because that is what so many families are feeling tonight, and hoping for change for the Cuban people, at least the beginning of an end. Leanne Morejon live for us. Thank you.